Arknights Endfield hasn't even been out for a week, but its weekly resets have already ticked over. If you're deathly gripped by the fear of missing out on resources, especially in the early game where it can feel like it matters most, then doing all dailies, weeklies and monthlies on time is a priority. Problem is, there are just way too many of them in the game, to the point I'd log in and forget what I was actually meant to be doing. So here's a video, more for me than for anybody else really, that covers all of the different systems and content that one wants to be doing so as to not waste any resources. Before we continue, I should mention that this video is sponsored by Griftline, the publishers of Arknights Endfield. With that out of the way, let's go through the full list, then cover each and every one of them, what they are and what they give, so you can choose whether or not you should or shouldn't do them. Timed content would be web login bonuses from Escapeport, in-game login bonuses like monthly pass and sign-on events, operational manual daily tasks and related daily quests like the Missing Robots Daily, protocol pass weekly missions, weekly routine in the event center, purchase of time-limited staple goods, giving gifts to operators, collecting gifts from operators, purchase and sale of elastic goods, giving out friend-related production assists, collecting and gifting on Quota Exchange, collecting and configuring Dijang materials crafting, and activating friend-related production assists, spending credits on the credit store, purchasing Dijang Mats in the Quota Exchange, gathering rare growths, collecting recycling station materials, pack and deliver, outpost management trade-ins, early warning terminal, if applicable, seed plant collection, germination and watering, if at Wool Inc. environment monitoring terminal, spending sanity on protocol spaces or deep dive modes, and one-time daily quest progression like Granny Jenner, Aviwana's journalist investigation, power plant traitor, etc. That is a lot of different things, so much so I can barely fit in the whole list on screen. I wasn't kidding when I said I struggle to remember what to do. Thankfully many of these aren't all that important, so let's cover them one by one and then you can decide if they're worth your time. The first task begins outside of the game. If you have registered to Escapeport and linked to your Arknights Endfield account, link in the description, you can get mats including a Robber by checking in daily. The delivery of contents is pretty much instant, so you can bring up the game, check your mail and they'll be there. And this is not a daily, but if you signed up to the Final Prep Orders web event, you will only receive the rewards by claiming them manually. So if you haven't done it yet, make sure to do so. Again, link in the description. Naturally, to get these rewards, you have to log into the game, and merely doing so bestows rewards. If you have the monthly pass, you can claim it straight away, giving a Robber and Sanity restoration items. And once you do, or if you don't have it, there's event-related sign-ins like our Dailies event and the Firewalker's Trail sign-in event. These can give pools and all in all useful mats, so it's a welcome bonus and very easy to claim. Next up are operational manual daily tasks, things like spending sanity, leveling up operators, defeating enemies. It's very important to do so as these give a fair bit, or Robber roll, useful mats, and a metric ton of operational XP, which is your account XP essentially, so doing it is a priority. You may notice in the example shown I only have 2 tasks complete, but that's enough to max out my activity level. This is because there's a daily quest called Missing Robots. This gives a meager amount of T-creds, but it's easy to do and grants 80 activity XP. Since logging in gives 20, doing only this and nothing else is enough to be done with operational manual daily tasks. It involves using the scan feature and following the markings to find broken robots, which you interact with to set a beacon. Do it 3 times and that's it, quest done. One other thing that the operational manual daily tasks gives at 100 activity level is 2000 protocol pass XP. This is one of the only consistent ways to build it up once all of its past missions have expired. Rewards are a pretty big deal, being better with each protocol pass tier, ranging from mass to array geometry and even weapon crates. And on the topic, the protocol pass is a set of weekly missions, logging in daily, picking up gatherables, completing protocol spaces. Each of these gives a decent amount of XP and will often be met simply by playing the game. There's another weekly task, being the weekly routine in the event center. These tend to need some more active interaction, like collecting crystals and edge space salvage, manually crafting items, or giving gifts to operators. Rewards include a bunch of useful mats and an almost insultingly small amount of arsenal tickets, but I'll take what I can get. Talking about giving gifts to operators, that's technically a daily task too. Gifts can be purchased from the staple goods section on stock redistribution with a, you guessed it, timed discount. So that's part of the daily routine once you can earn enough stock bills to sustain it. After having gifts in place, find the operator in Dijang and interact with them to offer gifts. Every day there is a bonus trust from gifting, so even if you've got a bunch of gifts lying around, you'll ideally only want to do so while in this bonus. The reason for giving gifts is that operator trust is required to unlock some of their talent nodes, giving decent stat bonuses to help in battle, so maxing out everyone's trust is a long-term goal to work towards. You do passively build this up by having operators assigned to the control nexus in Dijang, but building it there is very slow, so gift giving speeds it up a fair bit. Thankfully, every relationship is a two-way road, so operators can also gift you items. Unfortunately, you do need to chase them for it, with a yellow gift icon appearing by their names. Interact with them and accept their gift, which can be a useful but often disappointing tactical. Frankly, what you get isn't all that valuable, so I wouldn't go out of my way for it, but it's easy to come across 1 or 2 while going about your business. And while chasing around operators, you may come across some interesting interactions on the Dijang. Keep in mind that because these are actual items, you do need backpack space for it, else they can't be collected. And if you leave the Dijang to store them in the PAC and then come back, the gift will be gone, so don't slack on inventory management. While operator gifts can be attained via staple goods, to get stock bills for it, you want to sell elastic goods. This is a standard buy low, sell high system. You can buy them low and resell them on the next day once your prices change, but using friends' prices is often better. Do check them all though. Some products may be heavily discounted, but none of your friends have them to sell. Others may be heavily discounted and have pretty high earnings ratio, like over 300%. But even something that might not be as steeply discounted can have even higher earnings ratio, so to maximize your gain, check through most. You can then visit your friend's ship and earn a grotesque amount of stock bills. In a given day, it's likely that your greatest source of stock bills will come from flexible goods stock redistribution, so don't slack on it. Since you'll likely be going to friends' ships, this is a good opportunity to complete the next daily, production assists. For any friend that has operators set up in Dijang production cabins, you can provide a production assist for each cabin. Every assist gives credits, and doing so to the growth chamber gives a seed as a bonus too. Up to 5 production assists can be done daily, so you might need to go around to multiple friends' ships for it. Another task that you do daily that can support your friends is clue exchange. In the Dijang reception room, in your own ship, you can set up operators to gather clues. It will automatically gather them with time, but every day you need to claim clues manually. Once clues are claimed, they can be pegged to the board, but it's possible to receive duplicate clues. In my case, I've got one too many clue falls. So these duplicates can then be sent to friends, with yellow marked clues being those that they need. Sending them gives you credits, but even if you send clues that they already have, you still receive some credits, albeit not as many, and your friends can then pass them along. Even the very act of receiving clues gives credits, but as you have no control over it, try to get friends that can gift you some. Once all clues are built, you can start clue exchange in full, and inviting friends or joining others' clue exchanges can give even more credits, but we're a little too early in the game for me to have footage of that. All of these friend assists naturally can be done to you, taking us to the next daily, Dijang materials crafting and using production assists. I won't go over how the cabins work, but know that you can get character and weapon XP as well as rare growth materials from them. These can be collected from the chambers or the control nexus, and once you do, make sure to adjust plans so that they're topped up again. At the top right, there'll be a production assist button, and there you can use assist for the control nexus, restoring operator mood points. The individual cabins have their own production assists too, so go on them and cash in the production assist, which will speed up the manufacturing task for faster material generation. Keep in mind these have to be done to every cabin individually, so when you go to collect, don't forget to use the production assist for the given cabin. Cashing in assists helps with operator mood and Dijang materials, but the credits earned from giving them out alongside clue exchange can be spent on the credit store. By going to the acquisition center, then to the credit store tab, materials can be purchased, and this should be done daily as the credit limit is very low. Each day you can also collect credits, giving even more income on top of the credits earned from assists and clue exchange. This is always a fixed amount, plus bonuses from elastic goods sales by friends done on your ship. Every day there will be a discounted lineup of products that you can purchase. Sometimes these can even include Arsenal tickets, so don't sleep on it. If you're so inclined, you can also refresh the store by spending credits, which will reset all materials, discounts included, and treat it as if it were a new day's stock. This can get expensive though, with more credits for every reset, so it may or may not be worth it depending on the product lineup and their discount rates. Then there is the Quota Exchange. These have rare materials like Mark of Perseverance, which are used to crown operator skills up to 3 times for higher levels. These seem to be tied to a given patch cycle with more than a month's worth of time to purchase, but still something that should be bought out in full when possible. On the other hand, banners in Arknights Endfield have no rate up 5 stars, so the most reliable way of getting one you want would be by buying them with bond quota, with featured operators rotating monthly. Currency is earned by pulling duplicate operators being automatically converted into bond quota. In addition to bond quota, there is the AIC quota. This also has patch and monthly resetting materials, with the standout being pull tickets for a limited banner. Unlike bond quota, these must be manually exchanged, with every duplicate of an operator past their potential 5 having tokens that can be converted into AIC quota. 5-star operators give more than 4-star ones, and 6 stars, well, that's something else entirely. So far there has been a lot of menuing, so let's get moving. Literally, as the next set of dailies involve going around the map. Every region's area will have a set of rare growths which slowly build up on a fixed cooldown, which you want to be collecting. I'd recommend setting up ziplines around the map to get to them quickly. There isn't a need to do them daily per se, as they don't regenerate fast enough, but it's worth checking in frequently to avoid overcapping them. That's because these are used for operator and weapon promotion as well as skill levels, so they're particularly important for account progression generally. Another important note to check in on the map are recycling stations, being the owl icons. They provide aerospace materials, which are used to upgrade Dijang's control nexus and its cabins. At first the requirements aren't all that steep, so you can make do with only a few. But as you progress, the material needs get very demanding, so you might find yourself gated by them. The higher the level of the recycling station, the more materials you get from them, making leveling them up early, if you can afford the stock bills, worthwhile. They don't quite reset daily, being closer to once every 16 hours instead, but realistically checking in on every station once a day should be more than enough. Once all Dijang cabins are upgraded, this is a daily that will no longer need to be done, as there won't be a use for its materials. But you know how it goes with these games, there might be some later use for them, so I'll keep gathering. The next daily brings with it even more running about, being the pack and deliver system. You can unlock depot nodes which allow for you to pack goods and effectively exchange some of your mats for stock bills. At high depot levels, it makes up a significant portion of your daily stock bill earnings. Once a crate is filled, there's multiple bids, so pick the highest one and make your way there. There are restrictions to higher the level of the delivery is, with no teleprotocol, taking hits, and even jumping reducing your material gain. So as with rare growths, setting up zipline routes helps, as the delivery points tend to always be in similar places, making it a predictable pattern. In fact, recycling stations are a delivery point, so completing a pack and deliver mission can double up as a track to gather aerospace materials. 2 for the price, 4 time, of 1. If you don't feel like playing pretend DoorDash in your video games every day, you can transfer jobs to other people, or alternatively pick up transfer jobs yourself. Doing the latter would give a bonus 30 credits too, but it seems like there aren't any up right now or the system is bugged. Either way, something to keep an eye out for. Now we're done with running around for dailies. The next set is all about the AIC. Over the course of your playthrough, you unlock outposts, and to increase their prosperity level, you can trade in items manufactured by the AIC for stock bills. The goods available change depending on the outpost and its level, but generally maximizing the gain from it is good to work towards. They increase your regional development level, unlock new quests, and, of course, give you stock bills. When trading in materials though, be careful, as you want to maximize your outpost prosperity gain. So before trading everything, adjust your trade-in numbers to be just enough to bring the outpost to the next level, after which you can complete the upgrade quest and hand in the rest afterwards. A problem you might face if you've optimized your factory, however, is that outposts can't keep up. Maybe you have a good 3,500 batteries, but you can only trade in 800 of them, as outposts simply cannot generate enough stock bills in time. The early warning terminal then is an optional daily that helps with this. Completing an operator intervention incursion will provide a temporary bonus to stock bill earnings. These also involve the AIC, as you need to configure turrets that can assist your operators in a tower defense mode. Once an incursion is cleared, the next 24 hours will have the bonus. So if that's all you do, early warning terminal defenses need to be redone every day to maintain it. If, however, you've advanced enough in your factory combat nodes and manage your turret placements properly, layering the auto defense mode will make the bonus permanent, meaning no daily refresh required. Next up is farming. This game really does need to have it all, doesn't it? With seed plots being needed for more niche tracks of progression. There's a lot of plants in the game that cannot be produced by the AIC planting units, like tart pepper. To top it off, they tend to have limited spawn points and long respawn timers, making them difficult to gather. So to progress the crafting manual, you're going to want a reliable source of them. They can also be used to craft high-level tacticals and foodstuffs, so although limited, they can be quite useful. Use a seed and some carbon, but not for the easily gatherable plants, but for the rare ones, to create a seed plot. Plant them in the designated area at the science park and germinate the placed plot. Other operators will help you out and cut the time needed. After which, water the plot. This will then begin taking down a 12-hour timer for the watered plot. Come back after the timer expires and the plants will have grown, being ready for collection. Each plot yields 3 plants and the cycle can begin again immediately after. As far as dailies go, this is about as low as it can be on the priority list, but worth doing every so often at least to progress the crafting manual. Next are regional dailies. For those in the early game this won't matter, but for the few that have reached Wuling, it has the Environment Monitoring Terminal. Each region has its own stock bills, so all of the Valley 4 stock bills have no value in Wuling, making any additional source of it valuable. When you accept a job, you'll be tasked with photographing some sort of flora and fauna like rainbow fin and water. Make your way to the marked location, snap a picture, and that's it. Quest done. A job will refresh daily, so it's one to keep on top of to maximize Wuling stock bill generation. And the final daily task is Sanity Spend. That's the stamina system, so hopefully it's a familiar one. Go to protocol spaces or deep dive missions and spend sanity to collect materials, all of which are important in their own right. Progression in the game is effectively hard gated by sanity, as it's the main source of materials, and every point spent gives operational XP, making it one of the few ways to progress through account levels once all one-time bonuses are used up. It regenerates with time, having a rather generous cap as you level, but just in case you're strapped for time, there are sanity extractor items that can be gained from the protocol pass which can pocket some of it for later use. Keep in mind that storing it for later does not count as consuming it for operational XP. Actually, there is one more daily task, although it's a one-time thing only, being quest progression. Many quests in the game take multiple days to complete, with each subsequent step activating on a daily reset if the previous objective was cleared. So if a quest tells you to wait, wait is all you can do. That should cover most of the time content that you want to be doing in Arknights Endfield. I won't say it's all of them. There will be event-specific daily, weekly, monthly, patchly related tasks, and I wouldn't be surprised to have missed something, but this is about as comprehensive a list as you can find. Honestly, a lot of these dailies aren't all that important. Aerospace materials from recycling stations are only needed until Dijang is maxed out. Outposts will eventually cap out on prosperity levels, making trade-ins only be worth doing for stock bills. And since stock bills are unique to a given region, there's only so much that you can do with them once the staple goods store is bought out. There are rotating items like operator gifts and engraving permits, but the latter is also region-bound. Still very useful, mind you, but there's no great rush to stock up. As much as I'd like to tell you to come check out this video every day for your daily checklist, the game does have plenty of alert icons to remind you of them. There's even mission reminders in every map, which will tell you when rare growths and recycling stations are full. So while the list of things to do is quite daunting, in reality it's not as complex and not as big a time sink as you might think. It does not take me an hour to do my dailies. It did take time to set up my factory production line, zip lines, and to, well, remember what it is I had to do. But after a few times, and an occasional check of the list to make sure that nothing important is being missed, it's easy enough. I must say though, this content is not usually the stuff I produce. I'm all about optimized high-level gameplay, niche tags and breakdowns of characters and fundamental game mechanics, so if you are interested in these things, why not like, share, subscribe and ring the bell? I've got more videos coming. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.